Hello, I am Maria Concepción Pomar Rosselló. I am the next speaker in APAC's annual ELT Convention 2025. And I am a teacher at BIU University, and I'm specialized in storytelling and also in digital storytelling and transmedia storytelling. Still have a lot to learn. And anyway, I am doing my best to really learn about good tools that I can share with you and with other teachers. So this is my presentation. It's called The Advantages of Trying to Create Interactive and Dynamic Games. And I'm going to introduce you to this tool because it is going to be one free resource for you to create digital stories with which your students are going to be able to carry out interesting projects. Hi, Joanna.
Hello.
I'm trying to, here, the slide starting now. So the index of contents is storytelling in ELT, just a little bit of an introduction. Then gamification in ELT, because this tool that I'm going to present to you, Twine, is a tool that can combine both very easily with just a little bit of coding with HTML and CSS. Then video games and game-based learning in ELT, and other storytelling and gamification ICT tools, just a few examples. The idea is that you get also the presentation with all the links after this lecture is over. So you have all the links with all the resources that I have added. And as good examples, Story Jumper and quizzes. And we are going to mention a little bit the phenomenon of transmedia narratives and introduce Twine. Twine is the tool that I'm going to talk about for the creation of all these projects that cover all these aspects: storytelling, gamification, digital creation of your own materials, etc. It's a tool that allows you to create open-ended stories similar to the ones that you had perhaps when you were a child, that were the books that Choose Your Own Adventure. Did you, Joanna, have any of these books? Choose Your Own Adventure? These books in which you turn to page 59. They were very funny, right? They were it's basically the same, but in digital format. So it's like going back to this kind of books, to this kind of narrative that was more interesting because you could choose your own adventure, and you were more motivated. You were not only reading, but you were also choosing, making your choices. Then links, variables, and commands that you need to master a little bit to use Twine, how it addresses all the competences of the long learner, or how we can do that in the classroom, and examples of storytelling games created in Twine. I don't know if we will have time to watch them, but you will have all the links. You see that you have all the links in the presentation that I will send to you later. So, well, storytelling in ELT, learning through narratives, as we all know, is as old as human nature. We learn from oral tradition, from listening to our elders, listening to masters, to teachers, to people that know more than us since the beginning of times, so to say. We use the oral world. And also we transmit through through speech, knowledge, cultural norms, values, roles in society, through myths, legends, parables, metaphors, allegories, and all the different literary forms of expression that have arisen in history regarding the use of the oral speech and written speech, poetry, prose, drama, academic writing, journalism, all these genres, right? Or political discourse, advertisements. And we have here three examples of old times in which we see that indeed teachers, masters use storytelling for the teaching of materials, values, and other knowledge since the beginning of times. We have Christ that here we see that the Sermon of the Mount teaches through parables very often in the Bible. Then for the Muslim people, they have this character, this funny character that is Nasruddin Hoja, and they have a series of legends or that they are in general funny that have also moral message about the adventures of this fictional character Nasruddin, and they also have teachings as regards moral values, good behavior, your role in society, and so forth. And also in India, we have Arjuna and Krishna in a scene from the Mahabharata, and it's an interesting book in which they are at war. Arjuna is the hero, and he meets this god, this Indian god, Krishna. And while they are at war, Krishna is teaching him the basics of yoga and other teachings that are more spiritual. So we can see, since the times of old, the masters, even in the legends, even in religious texts, have used the storytelling as forms to transmit the knowledge to the people that they are instructing, or in our case, to other students. So as regards to conversation, discourse, and leadership, the tool of storytelling is very important and has been used since the beginning of times to convince others. For example, we have political discourses. We have Dickens with his novels that accomplished that the laws changed, protecting more the children in Britain. We have many, many other examples of people that through the written word and through storytelling could even change the world, right? And we have oral and written speech as effective forms to communicate, convince, instruct, and exert influence in the community. The idea behind the storytelling, even in advertisements, is triggering emotional responses in the interlocutor and our audience through empathy, humor, transmitting cautionary tales, morals, reasonings, debates, and argumentation. And it combines all the literary devices, particularly humor, is very, very, very frequently used. We can say, for example, Canterbury Tales, etc. There is always a teaching behind, right? We have here 3 examples. Chaplin's discourse in The Great Dictator, that also influenced a lot of people at the time. And we have here 2 scenes from 2 versions from the Royal Shakespeare Company. The first of one, Hamlet, and the second one is A Taming of the Shrew. And we can see that the stories keep on being retold and changed, adapted to the modern times, and they're still as alive as ever. You know, for example, this Hamlet, this version of Hamlet, I have already purchased it, is very Africanized, and this young man, the actor, the main actor, speaks in perfect British Shakespearean English, but at the same time he gives this intonation, this kind of expressivity that people in the Black or African American communities tend to have, and it's a beautiful mix. It's a way to also teach in the classroom diversity. And also in The Taming of the Shrew, we have experimentation with shape swapping roles. In this version that is very funny, the male characters have become women, that they have become women. This is Petruccia. And the female characters are men. This is Catherine, that is the boy. So retellings and adaptations, all this is proof that all the stories that have these archetypes are more alive than ever. That's the power of storytelling. So as regards the academic and experiential evidence, I have added these 2 resources for you to take a look. For example, classroom tales using storytelling to build emotional, social, and academic skills across the primary curriculum, with plenty of ideas on how to implement good storytelling techniques and activities and projects in the primary classroom, and also how to teach subjects like, for example, topics related to math, to science, to any kind of topic through storytelling. And then we have deep stories, practicing teaching and learning anthropology with digital storytelling. This is more for adults, and it's related to anthropology, but the ideas in this book are also very good to apply to any kind of more adult teaching. Your students are older, right? And then we have a video that shows the journey of a cell and the insides of a cell as in storytelling, aided by the new technologies. The VR technology allows the students to really experience what it is like to be inside a cell with all the organelles and with all the particles moving inside. And also in this video, we can see how this teacher explains in a form of storytelling what the cell is and what are the different elements that function inside the cell. And it's a much better way to learn than simply reading a textbook with a couple pictures, right? Then, as regards gamification in ELT, lately we have become more aware of the need of, innovation in the classroom, and we are working with flipped classroom methodologies, recording videos. We are working in project-based assignments, cooperative learning, active learning, visual learning. All this belongs to innovation. And part of this innovation is the recent popularity of escape rooms, also metaverse games, or these Dojo Islands, which is also considered a metaverse game, that is the new product from Class Dojo, which is a gamified tool that you can use in class. So this innovative technique in education usually involves organized teamwork to solve a series of puzzles, quizzes, or challenges related to the subject studied in class with the achievement of rewards. So this is basically gamification. Promotes active in-group communication and an ideally healthy sense of competition. It is not a good idea to trigger a competition that is not nurturing for everybody involved, right? Everybody has to win in the end, right? The students take it as a game, showing more motivation, engagement, and thrill, because something that in general is not a game becomes a game. And there are 3 tutorials here that I have taken for you to watch. How to create a classroom escape room in Google Forms for students. This is a very interesting tutorial by Megan Vestal. Then we have escape rooms created on Minecraft. I don't know if you are familiar with Minecraft or if you have children that play Minecraft. There are tons of games that are educational for Minecraft. And you can also, with a little bit of practice, create very complex and interesting and fun escape rooms that are gamified in Minecraft. And then we have this new tool that Class Dojo has released, which is Dojo Islands. That is, again, like a metaverse in which the students interact through an avatar, and they solve a series of puzzles and challenges and interact also inside the game. So we have here more evidence of how gamification can be motivating, effective, and practical. And we have here this article, Evaluating Activation on Absence of Negative Effect, Gamification and Escape Rooms for Learning. You want to read it. It's very interesting findings about how the students are much more motivated when learning through an immersive experience, imaginative experience that is an escape room than simply, sitting on a desktop and studying or carrying out exercises and so forth. Then we have the proof, the actual proof of children enjoying a gamification activity with, in this case, counting money. It's a short video, and in it you will see how all these children look totally engaged in the activity, collaborating, working together, and motivated and really focused on what they are doing, which is always better for fixing the learning more efficiently in the brain, in the memory. And then we have another video that I have taken from the British Council for you about how to gamify your ELT classroom, right? Because maybe you are a teacher of CLIL and you are a teacher of a subject in English, and you need to teach also some concepts and some contents in English, and this is an extra difficulty because you need to teach the language and the content at the same time in an integrated manner. So this is good advice to create activities that are gamified, that can be integrated in the CLIL classroom. Okay, for example, using virtual currency, and says does not interrupt the flow on activity class. There needs to be something to buy at some point when you design this game. Care needs to be taken not to make currency acquisition the main motivator in class. So there has to be other rewards, for example, for good behavior, for humanistic attitudes rather than greed, or wonders to create English-only environment. In practice, the students really interact. It's like in a role play, they really interact in English in a very natural way. And of course, controlled, supervised, but it's natural for them. And reward behavior learners that are doing what they should, and don't overuse. So no punishments, and it's a list of, it's a very interesting lecture on advice on how to use gamification in an effective manner in ELT. Then we have video games and game-based learning, because gamification is based on using rewards or elements that are particularly referent to games, like, for example, a little bit of competition, some reward, some challenge, but they are serious games. In general, they are designed take into account subjects or topics or themes or fields of knowledge that are not gamified, that are not games. So this is gamification. But then there are game-based learning, that are actually learning language through games, right? And we have, for example, board games. Many students can learn a lot of English, for example, playing Catan in class, or other games like Monopoly, great for numbers, calculating the money and so forth. Then there are other games like, for example, Animal Crossing New Horizons, that teaches, while you play, teaches vocabulary and structures of animals, fish, houses, kinds of flowers, kinds of fruit, dishes from all around the world, pieces of clothing, many natural elements. So there is a lot of language learning. You play Animal Crossing in English. And then there are teachers who actually use other video games for creating their own lessons. We have this young teacher here using Skyrim to describe what he's seeing in game in a comprehensible manner, providing the theory of the comprehensible input. So we see that we can also use actual games to learn English in ELT. And of course, there are other tools that you can use to provide this kind of storytelling materials or gamification tools in the classroom, apart from Twine, that we are going to see in a minute. We have, for example, Story Jumper is one that I really like a lot. It's a free tool and allows you to create digital books. And you turn the pages, and you can personalize the pages, and even you can add audios with your voice and music and sound effects. So it's very complete because it provides listening and reading at the same time. And it's so easy to use that even children in primary can learn to use Story Jumper and create their own story jumpers and practice writing, practice expression and even taking pictures, uploading their own pictures. They can do that. And other tools that are good for gamification, for example, quizzes and Kahoot, that are tools that present tests in a more agreeable manner, more colorful, more dynamic manner than the typical A, B, C, D tests that we are all used to in some courses, you know. So this is an example of the inside of a story jumper digital book, because you know quizzes basically clicking, but this is story jumper. And story jumper, as you can see, this is the first one with the audio, and it's a story of it's a little story of how a pine nut falls to the ground and becomes a new tree and then produces other fruits, other nuts, right? So it includes image, it includes text, it includes voice. Or if you want, you can create something more fancy like this fictional diary with more complex texts and adding all sorts of pictures. This is a story jumper designed to look like as if it was written by a 10-year-old girl. So you can do many things with story jumper, right? So these are interesting tools to consider as well. And as regards the different formats to present storytelling, to present gamification, and particularly storytelling, I want to underline the importance of transmedia narratives. Because in transmedia, what starts as a story in a single format becomes, due to the community of consumers of this story, for example, readers of books, becomes a whole universe if it becomes very popular. So we had the Harry Potter universe, the Lords of the Rings universe, or Star Wars universe. They started being books, and then there was a movie adaptations, TV shows, fans publishing their own fan arts, their own fanfics, their own fan fiction. As regards Harry Potter, there was ever a team of Quidditch created, an official team of Quidditch. And this is a very funny video of La Contea Gentile, who is a group of Italians that at some point dressed up as the community of the ring and went to the Vesuvius to throw a ring in it. And they crossed all Italy dressed like that. So this could be also transmedia storytelling in the sense that from a single format, we start from a book, for example, and then other formats emerge from other people because other people add to the story. Dramatizations, retellings, humor, well, anything, pictures, drawings, even merchandising, clothes, objects. So you know, this will be transmedia because it's also in the hands of the community that is in contact with that original story. And now let's focus on Twine, because Twine is a tool that is free and combines storytelling, because there is a lot of reading and writing, also the addition of digital resources in the pages, and also the use of gamification, because there are ways to program, for example, scores or other variables like remember your own name, the name of the player, with just very simple commands of HTML, right? So Twine is a free tool available at twinery.org that can be downloaded or simply used on the web, defined on the website as an open source tool for telling interactive nonlinear stories. And it can be installed on Windows, Mac, or Linux, or used online. Features a series of story coding formats, the simplest one being Hello, but there is also Sugyar Cube and other ones that are more complicated for greater and more complex projects. With some very basic knowledge of HTML and CSS, with Hello, you can create very complex and complete stories in Twine without too much without making it too complicated, simply choosing the right options and so forth. And why it is called twine? Because the different parts of the story are weaved together, like cut from the string, and it inherits the tradition of the choose your own adventure book games, right? And also from the text adventures from ZX Spectrum and above that were, well, first of all, the books, the typical books. These were the classics in which you had to, you read an excerpt and you had to choose an option, and in that option, you go to page this number, you go to that other number, and well, you get the bad ending, you get the good ending, you get sort of so-so endings. You have to go back. So this was the fun involved in the kind of books, and that is what you can also reproduce on Twine. And then as regards the ZX Spectrum, from those of you that were lucky enough to enjoy playing these games in these very old computers, there were a lot of text adventures in which you simply had to read and write the options, read and write the right options. So go east, go west, talk to this person, ask for something. So there was a lot of language practice because you had to read and you had to write. At the time of, at this time, there was still no sound, not voice. So it was basically a reading. It was like interactive reading with these illustrations. And then there were the earliest games that were the earliest adventures from LucasArts, for example, the Secret of Monkey Island, right, in which you also had to read the dialogues to understand, and also the names in English of all the objects, and then you had to choose the right option. So as you can see, the Twine tool combines the three elements of the choose your own adventure, of the writing your own story, writing your own decisions, and also to choose the right options. Let's see how it works. So the following tutorials are examples of Twine games that feature links to different pages of the story. So this is Twine, and in Twine, you have a series of small, let's say, web pages that through some simple commands are linked to each other. Therefore, if you, for example, in this one that says first, you say go to the waterfall, then another page is created, and in that you write what happens at the waterfall. Or go to the desert, and then another link is created and another page is created about the desert, right? And this makes that the story can become super complex, and sometimes the links go back and forth and are, yes, weaved together. And in the end, you can, in these small pages, in the web pages, embedded videos, embedded story jumpers, for example, also gamification tools like quizzes or Kahoots. You can embed images, animated GIFs. You can add tables. You can add exercises of all kinds of forms, links. Well, everything that you can share online. Everything that can be uploaded also on a Moodle platform can also be added to a Twine. But what is nice about Twine, you need to know a little bit of CSS, yes, CSS or HTML coding, but just something very basic to program these small websites, small web pages. But what is most interesting is that you in the classroom can apply for example, a program, a lesson plan using Twine with the students, and you divide the students in 5 groups. And each group has to write a part of the story with Twine because it's very easy to use. The students will learn to use it very, very soon. And when they know how to create the story, when they have finished and they have added their own videos, that they have recorded their own podcasts, their own audios, you can also add music, sound effects. You can join all these small stories together in a mother story. And therefore, you have a whole project of all the class, including all the stories of all the students. This is an option that you can do because you can really combine several twines into one single twine. What does this mean? What does it mean? Totally transmedia. You can start even a story and ask the students to continue the story, and then you continue the story. Another group continues the story. So it's totally transmedia. It's a way to make that the story becomes larger and larger and is written all together. Exactly what happens with Harry Potter universe and so forth, right? And sorry now. I was in this slide here. Well, this is an example, and I think that we will have time to watch several examples of Twine games, because Twine is a tool that needs to be witnessed, needs to be experienced to really know what it is about and the many possibilities. This is a long one made by Dominic Joran and William Pugh that is called The Temple of No, and it's humoristic. And as you can see, the authors included their own scribbles and their own pictures, because you can do that in Twine, right? And as regards the competences for the law, if you create projects with Twine, okay, you can cover perfectly with a little bit of planning all the competences. For example, if we design a program in secondary education, we cover totally the linguistic and communicative aspects, okay, because we are working with storytelling, with a lot of written texts. We also include videos, voice recordings, and therefore oral practice, podcasts, all sorts of resources. As regards digital and ICT tools, it's, of course, a great development of the computational, logical, and critical thinking skills through easy coding commands. With a good use of the audiovisual tools to produce material, the students not only create their own twines, the students also can record their own videos, can take their own pictures, can create their own drawings, can generate their own drawings with a safe tool of artificial intelligence. They can make presentations, quizzes, they change ideas, they collaborate, they negotiate what they are going to do, right? That's entrepreneurship and initiative. Creating Twine games requires having your own ideas, discussing and defending them in the group, negotiating, accomplishing deadlines, just being responsible about your part of the work, and from imagining to producing, because there is a process of planification. At the beginning of the presentation, there is this video also about how to plan a visual novel and how to really organize yourself to write a visual novel. It applies also to Twine. And from imagining to really acting, carrying out the work and producing, there is a lot of learning involved during that process, formative learning. Then it's multilingual. Twine games can include translations into different languages. You can create games that involve translation of, for example, mysterious messages. Or even you can create interactive games and stories with the students that are from other countries. Your school is in contact with another school in another country in Europe or in the USA, you can create Twine projects all together, shared online. So it's also the possibility. Social and civic competences as well. Twine games are excellent means for the students to express themselves freely. Also, they turn into their imagination. They stop consuming, passively consuming, like they do with TikTok and all this stuff, or even watching a movie, they just consume passively. No, they start producing, they start imagining the stories, they start using their critical thinking, their imagination, their logic, and they are talking about that, right? And also, they learn about values, they learn about social problems. and the solutions or possible solutions, smart management of conflicts, all these cautionary tales, all these tales that have a moral. Accomplishing your role in the group also is a responsibility. Coordination, right? To say, okay, you are going to do this, I'm going to do that, etc. An appropriate sense of humor is also an important skill to acquire. Most of the twines that I have seen on YouTube are humoristic or have a factor of humor. And storytelling as a technique. And maybe these younger students later on will become more willing to experiment with writing and start writing their own stories themselves. Interpersonal, learning to learn, creating in Twine requires a lot of trial and error, particularly as regards the coding in HTML and CSS. Sometimes things don't work and you don't know why. You have to look for tutorials on YouTube. You have to look for information. You have to look for solutions. You become resourceful. You learn how to find your own solutions, where to ask, and then solve problems, which is also when you have solved the problem and something suddenly starts working, it's very rewarding, right? It's like a challenge that you have accomplished. And then, of course, you can create twines that are totally based on science, on mathematics. For example, you can create a twine based on Frankenstein romanticism and then add some aspects of science as well. It's something that you can do, or mathematics as well. For example, in counting, for example, measurements for a recipe, and the recipe, depending on what did you choose, you add sugar, then you get a cake, you add salt, and everything goes wrong. So also the humor, right? So there is this option, okay? And well, these are three shorter examples, nice shorter examples of twines that I have found on YouTube, created by students and also by well, particular authors, right? And there is a repository with a good number of downloadable Twine games here in this red link. And you download an HTML because they are HTML files. You download an HTML from this repository. You can upload it to Twinery and it will show you the inside of the pages. So you see a Twine game that is very well designed and that you like the structure, you can just take it, upload it, and make the changes necessary. And it will help you also design your own stories much more easily, right? So I think we still have time to watch one example. Okay, so let's watch, for example, the second one that is very nice. And if you let me play, 1 second. I didn't know if I had time, but yes, I will have time to show you an example. Okay. Let's watch the bus stop. Second, please. One second. Okay, found it at last. I can share again. Okay. So enjoy. This is an example of a Twine game. that was an example, a nice one of a Twine game. This is one example of what you can really do with your students to encourage them to write stories like this one. Let's analyze the elements, okay? So first of all, we have a nice background. You can choose your own background in Twine, and you can also add other pictures, animations, animated GIFs, PNGs that are transparent. All these you can add, right? Then, of course, as you can see, it's based on text, but you can choose different kinds of types of fonts, sizes, and also other effects like this glow in the next, right? And different colors, of course. And this is the key of the Twine games, that you have to choose the right option, right? Call your friend, wait for the next bus, take a taxi, and the Twine tool allows you to, for example, turn the option that you prefer in a different color, or when you click on it, and many other effects that you can do. The same you can see also in the text in the in-game, right? So this one is very well crafted to create an atmosphere that is dark and gloomy with all this music, and there is the change in music, different slides, different web pages of the Twine story, of the Twine book, have different music sounds. And well, you can create also that the texts appear at any part of the screen, and even one after the other. All this, it can be edited in HTML and CSS, right? So imagine that. Imagine all the computational learning and also the language learning, and also the ability to create your own digital choose your adventure stories. And it's got all these elements that I told you, right? The element of writing, the element of choosing the right option, and the element of creating your story, reading and seeing that there is a good ending, bad ending, and adding as many effects as you want with a little bit of mastery of the coding options in HTML. That HTML is super easy, right? So nothing that important. You can even create some manual or even download some manual about the basics of HTML and the basic options, how to use them in Twine. And you provide a little bit of a scaffolding, and you can create projects like this one. So imagine this is the story of one group of students, and then it's linked, it follows with the story of another group of students. What happened when the man recovered, and they follow the story. And then there's another group that also follows the story. So it's really an interesting tool. And I think that it is also a very important asset that it is free. Because sometimes tools that are more complex for creating more complex effects, they cost a lot of money, mensualities or annual fees, and this one is for free. You only need your creativity. You can generate images easily with artificial intelligence that correspond to the topics of your story. You can make your own drawings, you can make your own videos, you can arrange all the lessons in Twine games. For example, create virtual escape rooms, in which there is a detective story, and you have to find the key here or there, look here, look there, solve tests. Maybe you can't turn the page unless you have solved quizzes or any other activity. You can embed, because the story jumper allows embedding. You can, in the Twine, embed the digital book. So there are tons of things that you can do that are nice in Twine. And well, that will be basically it as regards my presentation. Thank you for listening. And well, if you have any question, comment, I see something at the chat. Well, people, mm, well, there are no questions. And is there somebody that wants to comment on something? Did this tool give you ideas for your students? Do you consider it a good tool to use in the classroom? Anything? Well, if there is no questions, I will stop the recording here. In case you want to know more about Twine or about Twine projects, you can always email me, and I will be glad. It's something I want to do, people. What's your name? Sorry, because people, you know. But I want to create a PDF. This, for example, Easter holidays. Ah, Silvana. Okay, nice to meet you, Silvana. These Easter holidays. And please let me, by the chat, send you my presentation. Okay, 1 second. Because there are all the links here. Okay, so let me show you my presentation, because you will watch all the resources. Okay, 1 second. Can you please, Laura, Silvana, check when you receive it if you can open it? Ah, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Silvana. If you can open it and click on the links and everything is working, I'm going to unmute and unmute if you want to comment on something.
Yes, let me check.
Laura, can you download the presentation too?
Well, I'm trying.
Okay, good. It's at the chat. Okay. Yes, it takes a little while, I'm seeing. Anyway, it will be available at the pack page. And I also have a video. 1 second, I made a promotional video that explains everything, but you take several days to create
Yeah,
a
well,
video more elaborate.
thank you. The links work. Everything
Okay.
is working. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Did you find please some final words? Did you find it interesting? Did you find it a good way to develop the digital competence and create projects in the
Yes, there is a lots of stuff, a lot of material, and of course it takes time to go through them all. We are using actually we're using Story Jumper here, and it's a fantastic tool. Um, and we use it every year, and we think actually the kids are using it now, right now. And I have to go through the many materials that you've presented and
I hope
lots of stuff. Thanks a lot.
I hope that you enjoy it, and for anything, also you, Laura, or anybody else watching the recording, this is my email, and I will always be glad to collaborate in projects. Or I told you I have plans to create an HTML manual so that around Easter, by Easter, so that I can create solid programs. Right now, what I am doing is creating my own twines and learning by doing, learning by experimenting and failing, and why does it not work and whatever. And it's also fun. But yes, I'm going to write a manual. So you stay in touch. I will inform you of all my projects. Okay.
Yes, please.
Most
Thanks
welcome.
a lot.
You.
Okay.
Okay, so finishing.
Thank you.
Is there any other question? No, it's all clear. Okay, enjoy the rest of the conference, and very nice to meet you,
Very
Silvana
nice to
and
meet you
Laura.
too.
Okay,
Okay,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.